When an ancient burial urn is disturbed, a killer jaguar spirit is unleashed. However,
it's not as intense as it sounds with a convoluted story, rewrites, and questionable effects.
This is not happening. This is not happening.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Andrew. Andrew, how are you feeling this evening?
Mike, do we have to do this one?
You know what? We do, but it's going to be a little cursory, I think. This is going to be a little bit different of an episode for listeners. We're
going to talk about something else, right? We're going to review Aliens or maybe Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We're just going to
it would be nice, but no, we are going to go through with a discussion on Teso Dos Bichos.
Episode 18 of Season 3. Surprisingly written by John Shaban. I mean...
Yeah. I guess he's got some notoriety with this episode.
To be fair.
It is not well received.
To be fair. Even he, I think, was championing for an actual jaguar to be the villain at the end and not the horde of house cats.
Yeah, I think him and Kim Manners definitely wanted something a little scarier than what they went with.
Well, it also doesn't narratively, it's not cohesive narratively because the villain at the beginning is the cat. You see him jump through in the tent and, kill Dr. Roosevelt. And then at the end, it's just all these house cats and a fluffy rabbit puppet swiping away at Gillian Anderson because she's allergic to cats.
It's so good and so awful.
Wow, it's bad. Anyway, I submit...
Some choices were made in this episode, ladies and gentlemen.
To your will to do this episode. I'm willing to be led.
Well, it is going to be different. Andrew and I, we even had a joke poll months ago about who had the unfortunate duty to cover this episode. And over the months, we kind of landed on one of Andrew's ideas of just letting ChatGPT do the hard work for us. But what we're going to do, we're going to talk about it a little more relaxed than usual. It's not going to be a scene by scene necessarily. We're going to comment on the episode. We're going to be reading you guys some AI generated descriptions of the episodes, some different scenarios, and just kind of have a general follow through with the episode playing in the background. So this one's a little, kind of loosen the tie a little bit. Have a bit of fun. It's a little change of pace for the show.
Just to come full circle to find the truth on the
oh boy
GPT well, if you're gonna, Mike options here. You voted for me and I voted for you and everybody else voted for ChatGPT. So
yes. So this is your fault, ladies and gentlemen. This episode, we decided to, or you decided, I should say, to have ChatGPT play a big role on this episode. So, Andrew.
Yes.
I spent an unfortunate amount of time playing with AI. I had never really done it before.
Well, then this is already a positive experience, isn't it?
This is an interesting experience. Yeah. And I tried to coax it in certain directions. I wanted to get its opinions. Yes, its opinions on the show.
That's
give me
a little loose. Okay.
No, I just want to see how much luck you had in getting this thing to give you a cohesive narrative of the episode. What did you experience here?
Well, I did two prompts. I did one which was write me a glowing review of Teso Dos Bichos, and the other was write me a scathing review of Teso Dos Bichos. And I was amazed by its ability to produce 6 paragraphs, which were completely different in terms of its tone and what it chose to create as a part of that. But they definitely followed the same flow of an introduction, some narrative, some commentary about the episode, the sort of reactions, and then it ended up with ultimately the episode, blah, 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 and then it came out. So as an exercise with the AI ChatGPT technology, I mean, it does what's written on the tin, but I don't think it's art. I think it's obviously problematic with where it gets its information. But that's a whole other conversation. As relates to the episode, actually, I did read through it and I was like, okay, it's clearly doing a good job of finding its sources and creating this content because it was on point. in terms of what it wrote. I was impressed.
Yeah, I had some success. I tried to get it to write something that was kind of like you. I did objective review and funny review, something that was a little bit more comical. Yeah. And I did notice after some time it leaned in on the really corny jokes. I was hoping it would maybe blow my mind with something really witty, but no.
Well, would you like to share some of that with the audience? Do you think?
Well, I mentioned briefly to you before the record, I actually categorized my Chat GPT sessions. So I have summaries.
Nice.
I have funny pitch ideas that the AI came up with by itself. I did not coax it in that direction. I have a 1-paragraph summary of the episode, and then I ended it with 1-sentence summaries, trying to get, I wanted it to try and explain the episode in one setting. So
okay,
we've got some material here.
All right. Well,
but why don't you read something that you've got here? What was your positive review of this show?
Okay. Well, I'll end up with I like the concluding statement of the positive glowing review. And it says, overall, Teso Dos Bichos is a standout episode of The X-Files that combines elements of horror, mythology, and mystery to create a truly unforgettable viewing experience. With its gripping storyline, atmospheric setting, and stellar performances, it is sure to leave a lasting impression on fans of the series.
What?
And I think it did leave an impression, just not the right one.
Yeah, those were not the correct adjectives.
Well, let's contrast that with its scathing review conclusion, where it says, in the end, Teso Dos Bichos is a forgettable and disappointing installment of The X-Files that falls flat on almost every level. Its mishandling of Brazilian culture, lackluster storytelling, and missed opportunities make it a regrettable misstep in an otherwise stellar series. Fans would be better off skipping this one and revisiting the many superior episodes that The X-Files has to offer.
That's fair.
Which I would lean to, perhaps as a more accurate summary.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's one of those things that it's not the worst thing in the world, but you might want to skip it. The X-Files has a lot more to offer than this episode. I had a couple similar, but the one I'm going to read here, X-Files episode Teso Dos Bichos, is a unique entry in the series, directed by Kim Manners and written by John Shiban. It aired during the show's 3rd season and is known for its distinct narrative and production challenges.
Well, you're speaking the truth so far.
Yep. The episode unfolds with an archaeological dig in Ecuador, where an ancient burial urn is unearthed, leading to a series of mysterious deaths.
Wait, you said Ecuador. You're absolutely right. My Chat GPT got it wrong by calling it Brazilian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it did.
Interesting. Okay.
It's the scathing one, too. It says it's mishandling of Brazilian culture. Well, it definitely mishandled Brazilian culture.
It definitely mishandled that. FBI agents Mulder and Scully are called to investigate the case, which takes them on a journey involving political terrorism and supernatural forces. At its core, Teso Dos Bichos explores themes of cultural heritage, the supernatural, and the clash between modernity with ancient traditions. It delves into the consequences of disrupting sacred artifacts and the unseen forces that may be released as a result. Now, for character development, it says the central characters, Mulder and Scully, face their usual blend of skepticism and belief as they navigate the case. Their development is subtle but evident as they confront the possibility of a curse linked to the artifact. Kim Manners' direction in this episode is notable for its atmospheric tension and pacing. I disagree. Despite production issues, Manners manages to create a sense of unease and mystery that is signature to the series. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson deliver strong performances, capturing the essence of their characters' complex relationship with the paranormal. The supporting cast adds depth to the story, particularly the portrayal of local tribespeople and archaeologists.
What?
I'm just reading it to you. I did not tell it to do anything.
Not getting it. Okay.
I believe this is the objective summary.
Okay.
The technical execution of Teso Dos Bichos is a mixed bag. While the cinematography and set design effectively evoke the eerie atmosphere, The episode faced criticism for its special effects, particularly in the depiction of the Jaguar spirit. Strengths of the episode include its intriguing plot and the chemistry between the lead actors. However, it is often criticized for its lackluster special effects and the dissatisfaction of the cast and crew with the final product. Teso Dos Bichos is a polarizing episode among fans and critics. While it may not be the strongest in terms of execution, it offers a thought-provoking story that adheres to the show's exploration of the unknown. For fans of The X-Files, it is worth watching for its thematic depth and character moments despite its flaws. For newcomers, it may serve as an interesting, albeit imperfect, glimpse into the series' broader narrative.
If you started watching this show with Teso Dos Bichos, I don't think
you would turn it off.
You wouldn't continue.
What the fuck is this crap?
I want to.
That was.
There are a couple of things I want to highlight in this episode, though, before we delve too much into the Chat GPT butchering.
Okay.
I will say, I thought right up until Dr. Newton got killed by the cat, it was a fairly promising episode.
Yes.
It sets a lot of things up pretty well.
It's actually in my final notes. It's got a good couple acts.
It does.
And then it just falls off the rails.
The wheels come off this car. I think it's probably around his death then it'd be the second death. The other doctor, the one who's got the Jaguar car. Mm-hmm. Nice little touch there. And
really cool.
At that point, I thought, why did we have this sabotaging of the car? And then he gets out and he is attacked while he's trying to, he figures out that the rats have been used to somehow disable the car, and that makes him vulnerable. It's like, if you're a freaking cat killer, don't you just see him walk out and boom, he's done.
Right.
I love imagining in my head, the moments before this event happens, right? Mm-hmm. The last time we did this was during the voodoo one, where we imagined
Fresh Bones.
Yeah, Fresh Bones. We imagined the ultimate big bad there. He's under the car drawing the symbol.
He's
and then writing, wiring the steering column with the branch.
Yep.
But in this case, I'm imagining the giant cat opening up the hood and dangling in some rats.
He props it up.
Yeah.
It is strange. Like, what is going on here? How did this happen? And then the resolution of the actual episode.
Oh, I love that moment because it's like
what?
They just fade to black. They escape from the basement and they fade to black to it's going to take years to go through all those tunnels. I guess we'll never know. It's just like,
guess we'll never know.
You gave up because you're like, we have no way to show this in a way that works.
Yeah. I mean, every review you read, they talk about the technical issues, the production issues. And I got to say, I don't care how much money you're spending. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, you have to pull the plug. Right? Like, Fox has to be able to say, you know what? Let's shelve this one. The season is officially going to be one episode shorter. We're going to rework this episode and bring it to season 4 or something. But this just sounds like it was miserable. I read Kim Manners, I believe, had he hated working on this at a certain point, obviously.
He had 2 nicknames for this terrible episode.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, they had so many rewrites that they ran out of colors.
Yeah, because they used a different color for each
notoriously, script. when you change it, they change this color of the script. So they came back around to salmon, I guess was the color. So that was one of his nicknames, the second salmon episode. Salmon. It's just, when you've got that much problem with the episode that needs to be rewritten that many times, I think it's okay to be like, you know what? Let's cut our losses. We spent some money.
I don't think they can, though. I think the problem was they essentially have a pretty great run up till now where they've got episodes that they managed to make work. There are a few episodes which are not great, but they managed to make it, they pull them out of the fire and they make them work. In this case, I don't know what happened that they couldn't just get a jaguar, an actual jaguar, and have it be the villain, because they've worked with animals before. I don't see why they couldn't do it again this time. But this horde of house cats, just did not work. And
not only that, but Shaban forgot to ask either of the show's stars if they were allergic, which apparently Gillian Anderson has a fierce allergy to cats. So this was unpleasant for her.
Well, the way they shot it was okay. I mean, knowing what I know, obviously, it's like, okay, that is heinously bad as an action sequence. But I think the part of the problem is you just can't shoot house cats. You can't shoot pretty cats. You know, this is what has to happen. They're evil villain cats, but you can't shoot them because people would go crazy at the thought you've killed the house cats. But I don't know how you make this episode better, except they go to such effort to make Dr. Bilak, who is our link to the cultural heritage. You know, he's the defender of the tribe, and he's advocating for the urn to be returned to Ecuador. Mm-hmm. So they make, and
he's set up as the bad guy.
He's set up as a bad guy, and he's doing drugs. Apparently, he's drinking the yahe, which is Mona, his associate,
love
flame,
interest,
whatever she is. He's like, "You're drinking yahe? Are you crazy? What are you doing?" Mm-hmm. But I think the setup is supposed to be that is turning him into the cat.
Yeah,
right. That is what we're meant to believe. But that just completely goes away as a plot point.
It turns out to be nothing.
Yeah. So it's like, why is he drinking yahe, and what does that mean? And why is it such a big deal that Mona is like screaming at him? Never explained. And
well, I thought they handled it very well, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
I thought the truth. I can't get through this.
You can't even
straight face.
Are you going to go some chat GPT vindication of the yahe bit?
No. I've got, let's see, probably the most interesting one I've got are the pitches. I asked the chat GPT to come up with, I was hoping it would give me like a scenario of what it must have been like to pitch this episode. But
brilliant.
That's a little difficult. But it came out with this. This is the funny pitch for the X-Files Teso Dos Bichos, and it came up. I did not prompt this.
Okay.
Teso Dos Bichos, the musical.
Oh.
This is the pitch that it came up with.
This is what everybody wants to see, and how you make this a better episode is you make it a musical. I love it.
So it's not overly long, but the title is Teso Dos Bichos, the perfect musical.
Nice.
Opening scene, imagine a dark stage. A single spotlight shines on Agent Mulder, who begins to sing in a dramatic tenor, "Something's amiss in the artifacts room." Suddenly, a chorus line of dancing cats enters, complete with top hats and bow ties. Plot twist, instead of a terrifying curse, the unearthed urn causes everyone to spontaneously break into song and dance. The local tribespeople perform a catchy number about respecting ancient relics, while Scully leads a jazzy tune, "The Science of Why I Can't Believe." Character development, Mulder discovers a hidden talent for rapping, dropping verses about conspiracies and aliens. Scully, on the other hand, reveals her operatic skills at belting out high notes about logic and evidence. Director's style, Kim Manners decides to go full Broadway with elaborate set pieces that transform the mundane FBI office into a glittering stage. Think Phantom of the Opera meets Cats with a dash of X-Files mystery. Performances, David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson show off their previously unknown musical talents. The supporting cast includes a special appearance by Andrew Lloyd Webber as the misunderstood archaeologist who just wants to put on a great show. And technical aspects, the special effects team goes all out with pyrotechnics, flying harnesses for aerial ballet sequences, and, of course, talking animatronic cats that steal the show.
With rabbit fur.
Oh, yeah. Overall impact, this episode would be remembered as the moment the X-Files dared to laugh at itself, providing a much-needed respite from the usual doom and gloom. It's Cats with a conspiracy theory twist. Teso Dos Bichos, the perfect musical, would be a bold, hilarious departure from the norm, showing that even the most serious of shows can poke fun at itself. It's a must-see for any fan with a sense of humor and a love for musicals. I did not have anything to do with that.
That is a real missed opportunity there for sure.
That I could not believe how ridiculous it got. I'm like,
this just keeps going.
What?
Yeah.
It just kept going. And all I asked for, I was looking, like I said, to have it give me an idea what it was like in the pitch room for this episode.
And you got something completely different?
You got something completely different.
I wonder if that's somewhere somebody has already done that pitch and it basically just pulled it all into your response, because that's what
it very much could be.
Whoever came up with, assuming it is not ChatGPT that created that, or at least didn't originally summarize it, 40,000 monkeys at 40,000 typewriters kind of thing. Assuming that somebody out in the world actually came up with that, hats off to you. Top hats off to you. What a brilliant concept.
The only thing missing are tutus on the cats. I think that would be important.
I will take exception to one thing in that pitch, and that is that the X-Files doesn't know how to laugh at itself.
It
have
totally
you seen anything written by Darren Morgan?
Right. Yeah, I didn't get that one right. But,
yeah.
All right.
But otherwise, pretty good. Before we launch into another ChatGPT extravaganza, and I'm sure you got a couple more, and I'm looking forward to them, I think it's worth noting a couple of retreads. Ron Sauvé from The Host plays yet another bureaucratic functionary who's going to be a tour guide.
Yep. He's our favorite sewage plant operator. He comes to be just a guard, right? Or not a guard.
Yeah, he's like a security guard, I think.
Yeah.
He knows everything about
the plant. He's in the museum. He's got his glasses still. He's adorable.
And Dr. Luton was in space, I think. Was he not one of the scientists?
Yeah. I know I've seen him before. I honestly forgot to look him up, but I do recognize him. Yeah. I believe he has been on the show before.
I'm pretty sure he was in space. I recognize that face for sure.
Space face?
Space face.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think it's got some interesting potential. I don't even know if I want to devote the time to how do you make this episode better, other than to say, I think the answer is you make Bilak the man who can change into a cat because of the Yahe. You know, that's his...
Just because it makes more sense,
yeah,
right?
It's what the episode wants us to do, and then they just take that all away, and now it's the horde of house cats. Yeah. They could have had this great, pardon the pun, but cat and mouse scene at the end with the agents in the steam tunnels, and then, you know, he leaps at them and they empty their guns into him, and, you know, he falls to the ground, and now he's a naked human. Although they kind of already done that in the werewolf episode, which is not a werewolf episode.
Yeah.
On the ranch with the indigenous guys.
Shapes,
that's the one. But, you know, they can go back to the well and make a different show. I don't mind that. I think that would have been a better end, for sure.
Yeah. And that's, at least it would have given it some sort of coherence, right? What they end up doing is just like, what is happening? Nothing makes sense at the end of this episode. Oh. You're very underwhelmed and disappointed, I think, is the biggest thing. I say it, well, maybe I'll save it for final thoughts because I get kind of not wordy, but I'll save it for the final thoughts. All but right. Yeah, there are some things that I want to draw attention to that are unfortunate about this episode. So
if I can now just address a few giant plot holes in the room.
Yeah, please.
Where are the police in this case?
They're waiting for things to happen, sir. Despite things happening.
I almost want there to be a scene a la 3 where literally the cops say, I would love to help you, but we've got these wildfires and all of our resources are being tied up on that. So,
yeah,
you know, what can I do for you? And Mulder just says, I only need one thing. And he has the phone. And like, okay, nicely done. You've set the stage for what this is going to be. But here it's like,
they just don't pay any attention to what's happening.
There are 4 dead bodies and suddenly it's the FBI's problem. And they assign 2 agents who are now like, yeah, we got to go down the steam tunnels, the two of us. I'm like, what?
Well, that's the way it's got to be, Andrew. I mean, you don't want to allocate precious bureau resources or department resources when, there are thieves out there.
Yeah. I'm not going to continue to go on about Dr. Bilat being this weird character that doesn't make any sense, other than to say he ends up saying that Mona is innocent. She is innocent in this, but the fact is she's not. She's complicit in this system, which has taken the urn out of Ecuador. So I don't know why he's so like, oh, she's innocent and she doesn't deserve this. But it's also a weird direction to go there, other than that she's a lady, and
she's a lady.
Hard to kill ladies in this show. And then this whole business of the rats swimming out of the toilets. Great horrifying scene, but like, what? I don't think it works that way.
It does not compute.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the rats are so afraid of the kittens in the basement that they're going through the sewage lines and through water tunnels into toilets. I have no idea how this makes any sense.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it was a cool shot, like you said, when she discovers it. But
how did they?
The explanation is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Now, I know one thing that we're probably going to be missing in this episode are audio quotes. But I will say that in the style of X-Files episodes, which are not great, they are often redeemed by one or two great quips. You're like, I would not watch it if not for the one or two lines, which are like, oh, that's actually really witty. The whole cat ate a rat, dog ate a cat sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you should just include that because that is such a great little bit.
Someone fed this dog rat poison? No. When I dissected the dog's stomach, I found an undigested fragment of intestine, which appears to be feline.
The dog ate a cat.
I also found what appears to be bits of rat fur. I think the rat ate the poison.
Cat ate a rat.
And the dog ate the cat.
Yeah, there's really not much redeeming here.
Well, the last thing I got to ask is the bodies disappear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we led to believe that like the attacker is a dozen house cats and the dozen house cats are able to drag the body away, working in unison?
Yeah. Either that or they ate them, which is equally unbelievable.
Yeah. And the bones.
And the bones.
Yeah. I mean, they needed a little bit more exposition to make any of this make sense, but it would have all made sense if it was a man cat or cat man.
It's unfortunate.
It is. Okay, that's all I got. Please lay on your next ChatGPT masterpiece.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to do one of the one paragraph summaries I have. It tried to get a little cute, but it didn't really work.
Okay.
In Teso Dos Bichos, the agents face a perplexing case where an ancient curse turns a museum into a catwalk of terror. As Mulder and Scully scratch beneath the surface, they find themselves in a hysterical game of cat and mouse, chasing down a spirit that's got more lives than it knows what to do with. The episode concludes with our heroes realizing that sometimes the biggest threat isn't from another world, but from our very own furry friends. It's a tale, T-A-I-L, of caution. Don't mess with ancient spirits or you'll get more than bad luck. You'll get the claws. Cat emoji.
Well, punnery is the highest form of humor, and we're fans of it here. So, I mean,
I suppose.
Good
I appreciate the attempt.
Yeah.
But that's what you get, ladies and gentlemen, when you ask it to write something funny.
Ooh.
That's the kind of humor it comes back with. So
it goes straight into Dadland, right?
Yep.
Okay.
As for one sentence summaries, I've got a few here.
Okay.
In Teso Dos Bichos, Mulder and Scully learn the hard way that disrupting ancient burial sites can lead to a catastrophic feline uprising.
You just can't help yourself, can it?
Catastrophe avoided.
Yeah.
Just barely. And then in the episode, it's a tale, T-A-I-L again, of terror as Mulder and Scully face their furriest foes yet, ancient spirits in tiny, fluffy bodies. Mulder and Scully grapple with the ultimate conspiracy, a vengeful pack of house cats proving that ancient curses are nothing to purr at.
Oh.
And then the final one is when an ancient urn's curse turns into a feline frenzy, Mulder and Scully find themselves in a catastrophic situation, dodging deadly kitties and rat rain in Teso Dos Bichos. Rat rain. I actually enjoyed that one.
But cute.
Yeah, so there's that. Andrew, we all know how bad the episode is. Even people who may not have seen it at this point.
They have an idea. Yeah.
They have an idea of how bad this was. I actually spent a little time trying to piece together some positive reviews of this thing.
Are there any?
There are a few, and I did manage to find them on IMDb of all places, but...
Oh, are these like user comments? People that gave it 5 stars and said, good episode, man.
Now, they're not terribly great, but we've got some 8 out of 10s. We've got... I think a 9. Let me see.
You're really digging the bottom of the barrel for these.
It's just unbelievable that they would even do this, but whatever.
Well, give me an example of one there, buddy.
Okay, so Merging Traffic on July 23rd, 2009 says, this episode is underrated. I was surprised to see so much disdain for this episode. While it is typically a bit over the top, I found it genuinely funny as well as interesting. The acting is fine, actually, and the script is not all that confusing either. This guy is nuts. I think it becomes clear what's what by the climax. There's some really funny dialogue between Mulder and Scully, and the story is not particularly predictable either.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Some of the visual effects are lame, but nonetheless, don't be put off. Give it a go. It's a lot better than some other X-Files episodes I could mention. I gotta know what's on his list.
Okay, that is a really valid point. Are there worse episodes than Teso Dos Bichos? And I think I would still put Space in above it as like on the top of the bad list.
It's very possible. Very possible. When you get down to the worst X-Files episodes, it could really go any direction, in my opinion. You've got 3, Teso, Space.
I still got that soft spot in my heart for 3. It's hard for me to put it at the worst.
That's fair.
It's not good, but it doesn't reach Teso Dos Bichos bad.
Yeah. Some people even put El Mundo Gira at the bottom, which is a season 4 episode. Schizogeny, we all know I can't stand that fucking episode.
That terrible, terrible episode. Where Fearful Symmetry is also pretty bad too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we were to do an episode like a bonus episode of just trying to rank rank the worst episodes
we would do
out of merit.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, let's push on a bit more for this episode, Teso Dos Bichos, because this is what people came here to hear about, and I'm sure we got more to say.
So another 8 out of 10 review.
You're defending it. I love it.
Classic Sun Call, June 13th, 2017. So fairly recent. The cat ate a rat and the dog ate the cat is his title.
Which is the best line in the show.
Right. So that's the episode. No, come on, reviewers, lighten up a bit. Boy, the naysayers on this episode outweigh the favorable ones by a wide margin, but I didn't think it was so bad. Scully and Mulder share a lot of humorous exchanges, and the curse on the Amaru urn isn't any more far-fetched than a lot of the episodes had to offer. Besides, any episode that pays tribute to classic horror film director Val Lewton by using that surname for one of the characters can't be all that bad. Lewton made such films as 1942's Cat People and the following year's The Leopard Man. Seems there's a pattern here. With dozens of cats residing underneath the Boston Museum of Natural History, it's not surprising they might have had their claws out for Scully and Mulder. Not to worry, and it all pains me to say it, but a little pussy never hurt anybody. I didn't read that before. Okay.
That's a little bit more favorable than I would give this episode.
Yeah. I know how you like to poke fun at me for being overly optimistic with this show, but at least I could recognize the shit.
Oh, you certainly can. I mean, we knew going into this that this was going to be hard. One of the things that the episode tries to delve into is this idea of the sort of cultural appropriation and how, they're taking the urn out from Ecuador, but they're going to do it to save it. And I will give it a little bit of credit that they didn't lean heavily into just imperialism and we've got the right to take this and bring it back to a museum and the curse is going to follow it because you dared to take it off of our native soil. They tried to delve a bit more into that by saying this petrochemical company is coming along, they're going to raise the place, and it would have been destroyed had we not intervened. Now, the part that's missing here is why not just keep it in Ecuador, not on the land which is about to be destroyed?
Because, man, it's history. We need to show it off in a museum.
Because
it belongs in a museum, Indiana Jones would say.
Sure, but why a museum in Boston? Why not a museum in Ecuador where it belongs? Or
because the show's based on the East Coast America.
Yeah, fair. But also why not involve, and I know this is a very much more modern concept, but why wouldn't you work with the tribe that the land that they're working on, who I would hope are benefiting extremely from the petrochemical company, which is pushing them off their land. Why not work with them to decide where the Amaru is going to live so that you can respect their local customs, as opposed to just, oh no, we're taking it to Boston.
Because museum's bad, Andrew.
Museum's
bad.
Yeah. Clearly there's an axe to grind in this episode. And, frankly, if you mess with the bulls, you're going to get the horn.
You're going to get
the bichos.
The bichos, the testicles.
That's right. So there's that.
There is that.
And the last thing I'll say about this episode, I think, is there are some pretty plain motivations on these characters. Like they are, apart from Mulder and Scully, who we know, the rest are cardboard cutouts, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've got characters dying because they can't follow instructions. Literally, Mona calls to say, I think there's somebody in here with me. Scully says, stay where you are. I'm sending Mulder over to get you. What does she do? She goes to investigate the strange noise she hears in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I mean, you had one job, and no wonder you're dead.
Yeah, a lot of stupid people. Not that it's the biggest sin in the world, but
fair.
The characters do play a little bit of a role, and you can identify it from a mile away. Who's going to die?
Well, they're all going to die. Everybody dies.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I don't know why Mulder and Scully are still alive, but,
the only reason they're alive is because main characters.
Well, I think the biggest sin, apart from the complete last act just falling off, has to be using a monologue to try and explain what happened.
Well, they actually trot out a Mulder monologue at the end. It's like, yeah, this episode is just cool.
Yeah, when you're lost for motivation, the answer is just to solve it with a monologue. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. We rewrote this episode 13 times. Yeah. So at the end of the episode, we're going to throw in a Mulder monologue to kind of make hay out of it. I don't know.
It's such an obvious go-to. Sorry, and I'm thinking about the resolution now. Why we have this whole house cats thing at the end. Other than maybe they thought, nobody's done it. We can take this in a direction nobody will see. Because the obvious go-to is, yes, it's Bilak as the cat person. And they've been playing at that the whole episode. Why they decide to change gears and do this whole house cats thing, which just doesn't follow. It doesn't make sense. And you ignore what you've built up with Bilak. I don't understand it. That's the biggest crime. The second biggest crime is using a monologue to end the episode, but the biggest crime is just changing gears on the villain. And it just did not work in every sense of it.
Yeah. I will say they do trot out the monologue sometimes when the episode is noticeably weaker, including Fearful Symmetry. So that may be a trend. That maybe they realize that. We need to try and wrap this up so the viewers don't just kick their TVs.
We need to let
We
them
just
down
wasted
slowly.
45 minutes of their time. So, Andrew, we're not going to sit here and shit on the episode all day, but give me your final thoughts if you have any.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I think it's probably a rehash of everything I've just said, but I will give them to you. Mike, as Monster of the Week episodes go, Teso Dos Bichos has a strong start. They set up the problem, introduce our characters, tease the villain, and set Mulder and Scully loose on the case with a hope and a prayer. It's only when they get going that the wheels start to fall off the script. Why are they consistently acting alone on a serial homicide case? Where is the police department in all of this? Why does the episode try so hard to frame Billac as the villain, only to bait and switch him into a victim? And how does a horde of small house cats move a body? This episode is a bit unique in that it gives us the point of view of the villain, eventually, without showing us what the villain actually is until the end. But aside from a few notable quips from Mulder and Scully, this episode falls apart quickly, devolving into a cat puppet attacking Scully and fading to black so the episode doesn't actually have to deal with the logistical problem of making the house cat horde an actual villain.
Yikes.
Mike,
so disappointing.
What are your final thoughts?
Well, Andrew, I watched this episode twice in a short amount of time for this recording. And as much as I had a history with this episode and I was well aware of the hate and the laughs it's provided all of us over the years, I wanted to give it a genuine, objective chance at the end of it. So I'll just say a few things. I think the first, maybe third to a half of the episode works, kind of like you said.
I would agree.
It sets up an albeit basic premise and asks the question of what's going to happen by the end of the pre-credit scene. So there is some intrigue, some darkness, and some suspense, which is always good for the X-Files. But the episode suffers so many rewrites that they ran out of, again, colors for their scripts.
Yeah.
To the point where it's unsalvageable. There's no true coherence to what they're trying to convey other than don't desecrate graves or ancient urns, things like that. It's an idea that's so basic that it's truly boring for the X-Files at this point. The haunting of an ancient burial ground thing has been done to death in cinema and storytelling. So when I say this one had really nothing new to say, that's the truth. There's nothing new here. They didn't give it the X-Files flair that they could have to make it more interesting. Because at the end of the day, it's just a mummy story, and it's just not done well. So I think they just neutered the suspense even more by making the villain the house cats.
Yeah.
Which is, they could have had a monster. They could have had something. A jaguar,
They've done it before. They whistled for it with the close-up on the hood ornament of the jaguar by saying, this is what your villain's going to be. And it's like,
exactly.
I'm ready.
And that's the thing, is like the story at its core is nothing that we haven't heard before, right?
Yeah.
So what you should do is make it somewhat more interesting and maybe give it a twist, but the twist should not be 100 house cats. I don't know. It just doesn't jive with me. As for the effects, they were overused and did a huge disservice to the episode. They made a huge mistake in creating a puppet cat breaking through the door. That old adage we talk about, less is more, could have really helped the climax of this episode. The puppet is just, it's just comic relief.
Bad, yeah.
And I hate to say it, but the scene peering through the hole and all the cats are just sitting there with their glowing eyes. That's the scariest part of the whole episode.
And they could have just worked with that. But
exactly.
Yeah.
They could have just left it at that and had the door being shattered if they really wanted to do that. But no. They created a bloody puppet to up the ante, and all that evokes is laughter and utter disappointment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Shiban, his idea is just uninspired and boring to the point of crew rewriting it to jazz it up in ways that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
Overall, it's just not a very interesting episode, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to like, even in dialogue. So,
well, very few bits and pieces, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not enough to make it a must rewatch by any stretch. You wouldn't. You really wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, let's go to listener comments.
Turn to Facebook, where other people may have enjoyed it more than we did.
Oh, well, I'm dying to know.
No. Well, we have Emily, who also had a comment about Teso Dos Bichos, and she says that Our favorite part about Teso Dos Bichos is that the crew all knew it sucked, too. I love the behind-the-scenes story of the T-shirts that Kim Manners had made for them all. I got to see it in person on Darren Morgan at FileFest, and she attached a picture. Look at that.
That's awesome.
That is pretty damn awesome.
That is awesome. Aaron Hatecraft says, Teso Dos Bichos' worst crime isn't being nonsensical or dated. It's being boring. Accurate. The best parts are cats trying to break down the door in The Shining style, and a friendly-looking golden retriever just eating a whole cat.
Which unfortunately happened off stage.
See, they should have done, if they were going to do puppets, they should have gone all out, had the dog eat the cat.
Oh man, they could have done this in claymation. That would have been the unique selling point of the episode. That would have been great.
Yeah. Well, I'm done with this episode. The last thing I will leave us with, I wanted to read this other pitch that I thought was so ridiculous.
Okay.
It came up with the X-Files Teso Dos Bichos 2024 edition, and it is titled Teso Dos Bichos, the reboot no one asked for.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
Picture this, it's 2024, and the world is obsessed with reboots, remakes, and revivals. In a boardroom, a group of executives are brainstorming the next big hit. Suddenly, someone shouts, "What about Teso Dos Bichos from the X-Files?" The room goes silent, then laughter erupts. It's the perfect bad idea. In this reboot, the infamous urn is now a smart urn equipped with Wi-Fi and an attitude. When disturbed, it doesn't just unleash a curse, it spams the archaeologist's social media accounts with cat memes. The horror. The episode tackles modern themes like the dangers of internet fame, the viral nature of memes, and the cultural significance of ancient emojis. Mulder is now a TikTok star, and Scully runs a popular science YouTube channel. Their investigation is live streamed, and viewers can vote on what they should do next. Spoiler, they always choose the most dangerous option. The reboot is filmed entirely on smartphones for that authentic, shaky vertical video feel. The director's vision is clear. Make it as meme-worthy as possible. Duchovny and Anderson are replaced by influencers who can't act but can draw a crowd. Their line delivery is monotone, but their selfie game is strong. I thought that was interesting.
That is pretty, you can see it happening, can't you?
It's ridiculous. Someone would be doing it, I'm sure.
Well, that was perfect, Mike. Absolutely perfect.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna claw our way to the top of that episode.
Yeah. You got another one for me?
It's a tale as old as time that we have woven tonight.
Is it, though? I don't know.
Maybe it's just scratched the surface of the narrative. That's all I got.
God,
that's really all I want to say.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have a great night. Thank you for listening to this different episode. And Andrew, if you'd like to say goodbye, please do so.
I would like to say goodbye, and I have done so. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at TINHXFilesPod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.